Okay,
Are there two pages?
this is called Morning Chores. As I awoke, my eyes sparkled at the march of white and purple larkspur beckoning me toward the garden. Not to be undone, the poppies lazily waved their red, pink, and white splendor. The red-winged blackbirds chattered shrilly, demanding food in the bird feeder. The hummingbirds blissfully ignored their surroundings and drank sugar water. As I approached the kitchen door, the usual bevy of cats lined up, hoping for treats before breakfast. Frambosia, the Lion King, reluctantly tolerated an application of flea medication in exchange for a few bites of hot dog. On to the barn we trudged as more cats appeared wanting their food. First, I cleaned up the mess from the nighttime rumbles, washed the aluminum dishes, and filled them with kibbles. Poor Mo, who has no teeth, had to be protected from the other cats who fought for his soft canned tuna. The sound of small kittens raised hope that they might come out of hiding for some food, but not as long as a human stood in front of them. So I closed the barn door and peeked over, thinking of my granddaughter's admonition. You have to come to them every morning, Grandma Mab, so they can bond to you.
Aww.
Is that we are encouraged to edit all the time. So this has been through at least 3 edits.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful because it gets better when you edit.
Yes.
Definitely.
It's what you do best. You and Connie and Ruth do these kinds of. Each of us has a place like I do, not our hometown, but a place where we felt comfortable, satisfied. Mine, from childhood days, was Charleston, South Carolina, a place of history where the sea air always encouraged wider thoughts. Revolutionary days, Civil War starting point, the cannons still point at Fort Sumter. Music, a piano heard as I walked past, houses shuddered against the heat. Whoops, there's a...
Against the.
They don't want you to hear them, right?
Right.
That's what the spell check
Or a
is.
concert at the Spoleto Festival. Imagine Porgy and Bess singing deep, sad blues on rainy nights. Faces that arise from the water of history, like something from a Norman Jensen painting, or wispy faces in profiles of old brick buildings. Everywhere now, people, events, construction, and the demolition share my dream city. Never did the dreams of my city contain the hatred displayed now in live pictures broadcast into everyone else's imagination. A church made into a slaughterhouse, a man shot in the back without a cause that would sanction his death. My dream city, tarnished by the daily, uncaring bigotry of careless thinking. I'm unsure about adding the last line.
No. I don't think it's necessary.
And I didn't call it a footnote. I just stuck it on the end of the bottom of the page. Who Norman Jensen is. Right. He's an artist I met when I lived near Gainesville.
That's the
I'd suggest you look him up.
Yeah. That association will forever be with that lovely city.
Did you say Norman Jensen or
Yeah.
Norman Jewison?
Harness the image.
Yeah.
They're on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Joy, I would strike that last.
Yeah,
I agree.
Up there, they
Yeah.
are.
I would
And,
make it an
Isn't
explanation
Fort
point if you
Sumter
did
spelled
use
with a
it.
P in it? Is it S-U-M-C?
No, Sumter.
It is Pete.
Well, okay.
Like something.
I can't spell. I can hardly walk.
You can't spell
Does
heat,
Joy have?
or that,
One of hers?
Sumped.
was that
To
here?
Larry.
She's
Not here.
corrected that it was supposed to be here.
But we
And
both-
cannons
now
are.
2 N.
It looks like she has more than
Okay.
one in her hand.
Yeah.
Joy, do you have an extra one of the, well, not an extra, but do you have another one that Larry could have?
Oh, yeah,
Joy,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of cannon. Oh,
And then Fort Sumter
Yeah,
is
it's pretty
S-U-M-P.
Do you have an extra copy?
The group
I-
estimates allowances for
Catfish
spelling
roll
and
today.
typos
We'll
and
do
stuff
it up.
like that.
It's the Porgy Gus, but it's very gentrified.
oh, that was
I like the, where the
right.
sea air always encouraged wider thoughts.
Catfish
Okay,
roll.
I like
That's-
that, where the sea air encouraged.
Is catfish roll.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful there. I don't know whether it has to do with latitude,
Gentrified.
oh, okay.
but
Right.
there's something that happens to light
This is
when
near-
it comes off
It's in
of
Charleston.
great bodies of water that seems to create
Really
uh,
nice.
a different feel in the air to me.
It is, it's true.
How many of us are familiar with Charleston?
Oh,
I've just been
Been
there.
there.
Most everybody is.
Yeah, she has some.
This is Catfish Road today,
It-
all duded up,
Yeah.
gentrified, yeah.
You were there today?
Well,
That was
a
quick
couple,
trip.
couple months ago, yeah.
When my father got out of the army after the First World War, he moved to Charleston and became a house gambler in the American Legion Hall there. And some years later, my grandmother, who I lived with most of my childish life, died there. So I was there often as a kid.
What's that?
This is
Also, it's
early February. Daffodils are just about done, so I'm going back.
Joy grew up in Georgetown, which
Yes.
is
Oh,
up the
yeah.
road from Charleston.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We house in Potato Creek that we're trying to sell. It's right on the water. But 4 of us own it together.
Oh, dear.
But we go into Charleston a lot.
Ready to go?
You might as well take up all this chatter time with getting into things.
Cole, unfortunately, I don't have a copy for you.
That's all right.
I'm
We're
sure
sharing.
another copy
I
as well.
I don't have
so-
one for him and I don't have one for Larry because I didn't know he was coming.
So if you can have
I didn't know
mine
you two were coming.
after.
Here you go.
Pictures coming from that side. Is there another?
14, 15.
Oh,
15.
oh,
Oh,
I really am shy.
yeah,
Just say, oh,
we can share.
is that all? You
Yeah.
only get one. I hope not.
No,
Sorry about
All
that.
the way down to
that's
yonder.
it, okay, so we can,
Okay.
can you
Well,
guys
why
share,
don't we
do you
let
guys,
husband and wife
oh, they,
share?
okay, that's good.
You got one? No. Okay, let's share. We're okay. Good to go.
Life circles. The earth turns, life moves, and we push. At the outer edge of this great circle, on a wheel we spin. The more distant from the center, the greater the spin, the more frantic the pace. Without regard or thought for what or why, is relentless, an endless pursuit with perpetual returning back to the beginning, continuously spinning. Amidst it all, the center holds, full in its emptiness, a spin-free zone, and yet without it, nothing moves. Whether the edge spins or not, the center remains still, powerful in its vacancy, fully alive yet motionless. In that silent stillness I sit, just to be centered within, without. Unmoving energy, unattached connection, complete in oneness, settled at peace. Can death claim that which has no spin?
Wow. As
usual. And this is something I'm working on.
You have an extra. Wow. You did good. Anybody did not get one?
Got one.
Really?
Actually, there's
Everybody has one? It's amazing.
There's two.
If you made 12,
Is that a
You have to
Zen
send a copy
meditation?
Yeah.
to Connie.
Does that come out of a meditation, Tom?
Yeah, a lot of my poems do, yes.
I thought that's how it feels like it. Who said the center cannot hold? Is it?
Right, I was keyed on that one.
Yeah.
And there was another one,
Who said?
somebody,
I can't remember who
the
said it.
world goes round and round and somebody sits in the center and knows. Have you ever heard of that one also? There's a couple of these things that spin around in my
It's
thing.
nice, that's great.
Yeah, I just got that. Somebody just sent it to me.
You can send it to me. Thank you.
I think you have really good word choice here. There's
Yeah.
Thank
a
you.
sign of considerable work, I think. The selection of the words.
I write and rewrite poems. I
Mhm.
keep working on them, and I'm often never really settled with the final copy. Keep working on them.
There are some poets printed poets, who will not look at their poetry in
Second.
printed form because they can't change it, but they want to.
Yeah.
And I can empathize with that.
Yeah, William Burroughs said you should never rewrite.
Oh, well.
It's the first
Once
step.
it's printed,
it's Yates.
yeah, I think.
I was just curious, if I may,
Second coming, no, yeah, of
It's
course.
Yates.
That's- yeah,
are you
Yates,
using
that sounds
capital
right.
letters for an emphasis?
I don't, I like capital letters on certain words, and I don't know why
Things fall
Well, you should
they
read
are,
that
to
aloud.
me, something related to mixing it something special.
Sexy
And,
woman.
It's good.
Tom,
Listen to
it's
this.
Yates,
Yates,
the second coming.
I thought that.
read it.
Turning and turning in the widening
Gyre.
gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. On
Very,
and on.
very familiar, isn't it? It's similar.
But Things Fall Apart was taken as a title of a book from an
African poem, yeah,
Yeah.
very famous African poem. Things fall apart. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well done, Tom.
1919.
Oh. Sounds like a funny.
Who's that?
You want this?
Scientific American this month.
Kathy always has little things.
Okay, well, I'll put that one here.
I don't know if I have enough of
And a half.
All right. Evening rain. Rain dancing on the deck, falling from far above. From high in the clouds, water freshens the thirsty earth. Raindrops embracing every plant, every green blade of grass, each clover blossom receiving drink, butterflies sheltered under leaves. No lightning, no thunder, just gently falling rain. Even the birds are faintly singing during this twilight hour.
Peaceful, restful.
Everything has been well watered.
Yeah, it's wet
In our
road.
neighborhood.
And then some.
When it rains like it did a week ago Saturday, and
something
there's some
going around that
fails,
we
you're
both-
serious.
Oh, yeah, that's from you. I think I brought it in. I've been
Are
talking
butterflies
today, a couple
sheltered
of
under
days.
leaves?
They do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Neat.
They hide.
I like poems where I get the feeling as well as the thought of it, and I get the feeling of the rain here. It's really nice. I can have that feeling drenched.
Cadence is like rain falling.
No.
So how did you hear about this one?
Todd invited me, he's been helping me with my computer sticks. I had no idea what I was
You're
getting
supposed to
into.
pass those on.
I still don't know.
It's always changing.
Actually, I have
Yeah.
to thread
We have
it.
extras. We have extras.
Some of it's good and some of it's not so good.
I finally,
But it's fun. It's a
Got out
nice,
the gum.
attractive novel.
Everybody got one?
Extra.
Good
Everybody
job.
has
that
one?
remains to be seen.
Everybody.
Good job, good job.
Okay.
Might need more.
Are we ready to begin? We have two to choose from. We'll start with the Grand Band Holiday. I got a couple of letters to the editor again. This poem was inspired and written on May 30th, as you can see, which was a holiday, and I decided I'd hold it for this group for the next holiday, which happens to be appropriately the 4th of July. We're almost there.
Yeah.
And on the radio, I heard a performance of the U.S. Navy military band, which was really a wonderful display of military banding. Anyway, it fires one up.
I think it's banditry, isn't it?
It is. It always turns into banditry. Right. So, my grand band holiday. Hear the upbeat of the U.S. Navy military band with all its horns and flourishes, cheering, invigorating, feet spurred to marching. One day, instead, let me hear that glorious noise of horns and flourishes play in celebration of societies at peace, in celebration of expansive green forests, tall grass prairies to the limit of one's gaze on a clear blue sky day. Hear that brass and those drum heads beat to the flow and crashing of sea blue waves on beaches of sand and ancient rock and the washed up shells of sea creatures of every type, known and mysterious. I'll march with my brothers and sisters in celebration of life and all that humans can do to treasure it.
Great.
Yes. I second.
Beautiful.
And on the reverse. And she's in the band?
And she's in the band, yeah.
Did she enlist to be in the band?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very
tough
you have to-
course.
Yeah.
Yes.
She managed to.
The old timer. Okay, again, the news of the day. We already heard about Charleston. Hate at the doors of the church. The trembling, shaking tones of the organ make bulwarks of the walls of the church. This dedicated building and its stained glass windows stand and call members to peace and security. Oh, come, 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 come to the church by the wildwood. Oh, come to the church in the dale. Down in the basement, clever members organize to deal practically with the real world. They presume to be protected, though they are not thinking of little girls bombed to death in a substantial church, nor that church buildings are regularly torched as a big boy's ritual. No spot is so dear to my childhood as the little brown church in the vale. Hate steals in through even the most securely locked door. That bent passion is as free and ubiquitous as the air, as it fills rooms, sanctuaries, the skulls of ordinary persons. What can serve as a barrier? What defense can hold? What can education filter out when people are so insecure they seek to blame others having less? Doors cannot keep out an air poisoned, full of contagion, tantalizingly aromatic to the weak, the non-selected, those condemned to be watchers of others' successes as their own life staggers along, faltering, falling, bombing, and shooting. What kinds of hate are kindled inside those doors, spewing forth to condemn others, kneeling behind other doors?
Oh,
Says it.
Powerful.
you know that were you inspired by Obama to add a song to your poem?
No, I wasn't.
Have any of you heard his?
Oh,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Very
was a
powerful, probably his
verse.
best speech ever.
As some of you know, my father long ago, when a student, he was actually a preacher. And of course, ultimately, he became a fairly staunch atheist and raised me as such. But often throughout my life, he would come up with these old hymns, songs from his days in the churches of the early 1900s. And one of them, which I know it's buried deep in my brain, was this one. And so when I think of things like this, I always think of him and that voice coming.
Absolutely.
May I be editorial?
Please.
I will be otherwise. I'm not.
It's June, almost July, but you maybe.
First stanza, 1, 2, 3, fourth line, it should be stained hyphen glass. Otherwise, the windows are dirty.
Yes. I like that. Yes, very good. I'm used to dirty windows.
And 1, 2, 3. Well,
I like that vent passion.
Oh, you mean
the
one?
second stanza up from the bottom. I would say as their own lives stagger, not their own life staggers.
Lives.
Where are you?
Next to
You
the
were.
last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say life and you would say
I
lives.
would say lives. And
You're
they're
referring to an
there,
individual,
lives.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
isn't that-
right.
Yeah, should be.
But if you say
each
you
has
there-
his own life,
Oh.
no matter how many there
Right.
are.
And
Each of
this-
us has our own life.
But it's the plural.
We don't have our own lives.
True.
Their
Well,
own.
Kat,
I recognize that, but you're using a
It's a
plural
plural.
subject.
Yeah.
But in order to include, in order to include male and female, isn't there the proper
Yeah,
It's,
usage?
it's one way.
I don't know that it's proper.
It's
It's
one way.
becoming it more,
Well,
certainly
I
more
mean,
prevalent.
if you want to include both genders,
I say his or her.
right, but that doesn't work in a poem.
Yeah.
Mere technicality.
There's a lot of barriers in this poem. I mean, I go with the feelings that I'm getting. You know, the doors, the
bulwarks.
the barriers, the defense, the security, the basement. You know, I get this feeling of a lot of people wanting to be protected.
Mhm.
And I sort of I get this feeling, let's open these doors. And I really like the way, and I'm assuming you did this in the last, that the doors are really inside of us
Mm.
and not outside of us. You know,
Good thought.
you know, I
It's yours.
Thank you.
Good
I
thought.
like that we make the doors.
Yeah,
I can see
yeah.
that.
Right, right. That's the wonder of poetry. You can
Yeah.
do what you
Yet
will
there's
with the
one
words.
barrier. I mean, everybody kind of jokes about, metal detectors in schools, but if there had been a metal detector as another barrier, it wouldn't have happened.
Maybe.
Because the gun would have been
Maybe, yeah.
detected.
Yeah,
So
it's hard to say.
there weren't quite enough, in one sense, there weren't quite enough.
Well, what would they have done if a metal detector
He would have
had gone
waited
off?
outside the church for people to
To-
file out,
Or
Well,
shot
if they'd
his way
known he
in.
was
Yeah.
maybe.
or just ignored the metal detector. Well, this one's called Destiny, for no particular reason. I saw the full moon in a pale blue sky. Dawn had begun her westward flight. The disappearing dew drew a mad bird's cry, while weakened winds whispered words polite. I witnessed the earth as it shook and rumbled, the unsettled sea as it tossed and tumbled, indignant men as they groaned and grumbled, men with power finally humbled. The signs were there for all to see, as death's black countenance looked down on me. This ruined flesh must needs agree, to at last lay down and set me free. I once believed in my own free will, whilst destiny drove me harder still. I could never accept that I was made to kill. My brother's blood was not mine to spill. To break the chains that restrained my soul, I had to fill in that bottomless hole, and forsake the mistake that valued gold, to redeem the dream that I had sold. Turn down the wealth and deny the power, the arcane knowledge in that profane tower, all the lies that comprise this prison, and blind us to the one that's risen.
Are you a veteran or?
I'm not. No. That's me.
Nice.
I'm not seeing it, I'm just hearing it, but I
Yeah.
think there's something about spilling blood, and I think if you could,
I could never accept that I was made to kill. My brother's blood was not mine to spill.
I would
Oh,
say
that's-
my brother's blood, not mine to spill. I
Just get
think-
rid of the was.
Yeah, I think the rhythm is a little
Yeah,
better that way.
yeah,
but-
it does work. Yeah.
Well, I.
So, next time bring copies?
Yes.
You know, it's always a little more.
Similar themes, we're all pacifists,
Yeah.
and blood and
Yeah, I think we're
gore
all
and all
pretty
that.
We're now going
Days
elsewhere.
with the events
I
of the
don't
world.
think there are enough copies, but
Sure.
you people can figure out who to share.
Oh, maybe there are.
Well, there's.
Did you get hers already?
Right there.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, we're
Good
good.
short one.
No, that's yours. That's Nan's. Nan.
We're still short.
We
Oh.
fell short.
Yeah.
Oh, did we?
Share.
No, we'll share.
We'll share.
No.
Oh, we'll share.
She'll share with her grands.
I'll share with him.
Boulevard.
Ballad to a Blackguard. I'll weep no more for you, she cried. I've wept my final tear. You lied to me with your wicked mouth when you vowed you loved me dear. Your words were sweet as honeydew, your words were sweet and mild, until you had your way with me and had gotten me with child. I thought we handfasted were, I thought that we were twain, but now you've gone away from me to not be seen again. Oh, you're safe, false-hearted rogue, you're safe, because the sea will take the burden off from you of both the babe and me.
It sounds like a folk song.
Yeah, right.
Or
This
a
one
ballad.
comes up.
Yeah.
It needs music.
I was reading, not this one, but John Beer's, the writing of metrical poetry, and I was reading the ballad section, and you get caught up in that rhythm, and it also fits in with, you know, I go down to the community center and walk, and that ballad thing gets caught up in your pace, and
Every
so
step, yeah.
one of these lines came to me, and I don't know which one, but from then on, it went all directions. And I toyed around with another verse where he comes back, that he's actually been trying to find work and a home and all that, and he comes riding up to the door, and they say, ha, she's gone. But I thought maybe I could just stop it there. I don't know. Do you think I should carry on with?
I think if he comes back, he's not necessarily a blackguard anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, this is her impression.
Right, right, sure.
And so I had to change, I just stuck that title on there this morning.
Long, long ballad, surely it could become, right? It makes me think of, what, 65 or so years ago, I was in a American literature course, and I had a very interesting professor that I could tell various stories about. But he spoke about one story which I do not remember, one plot, and he said, and his speaking voice was very pronounced, and she returned big with child and big with indignation.
I like the idea of taking a line or an idea, particularly a line, because sometimes that happens with me. A line will start coming out, and I want to build something around it. And often it's not, I don't really care what's built around it. It's just, I like the line.
Yeah, I'm
Put stuff
right there
on it.
with you. I've got,
Like decorating a tree.
Exactly, I like the tree, let's throw something on it.
I've got a poem that's about 4 pages long. They came from the 2 lines, and they came unto the 9th month, and resentment was the child of their marriage, and bitterness filled the cradles of their hearts. And it went wild.
Didn't you read that to us once?
Yeah.
It
You
made,
did,
yeah.
it's a 12-month kind of progression.
Nice.
But it's all because of those 2 lines.
Well, I thought this was going to be like an informal reading where you had a bunch of people meet out there in the conference room and whoever had a poem could sit, come up and speak. So I didn't make copies, but
That's
I will
okay.
next time. So I used to raise pigeons when I was a little boy. And, I heat, or I should say I'm off grid, so in the winter when the snow is on my solar panels, I have to go out and start the generator. And I wrote this last winter when I went out to start the generator.
Why did you raise pigeons? For what purpose?
Oh, just for fun. We were kids, we raised snakes, you know. Nothing that squirmed or moved.
Pigeons are very good eating.
Yes, I refer to
And
that.
I think, and wouldn't the snakes think that too?
Yeah.
Did you raise snakes and pigeons at the same time?
About the same time, yeah, anything we could catch.
Where did you live?
I lived in Sandusky, Ohio. I grew up on Cedar Point Peninsula.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, near Lakeside.
What?
Near Lakeside?
Yeah, a little further
Yeah.
east of Lakeside. It's called Birds on Wings. My pigeon buddy flew the coop and left a message that she'd pooped the day before on boards and floor. The only sign. No coo, no clue, just poo.
And there's more. Is that it?
No. Unfortunately, you gotta bear with me.
Quit while you're ahead.
The midday sun had long ago removed her pigeon toes from snows, and so I cannot know if pigeons follow tracks like cats. I had the thought of pigeonholing her to refresh memories of my youth. Less need now to possess, more need to rejoice in her flight. Indeed, her right. But let's not squabble. Let's get serious. Humans are imperious, though earthbound. And I cannot leave out the iridescence of her feathers, like a sunset, like a flower, uncommon things, similarly touched by the artist, whose colors escape my palate and diction, like birds on wings.
That's nice.
Thank you.
So we needed a comedian.
Sure you got one.
Here's a
You have an amateur poet.
It makes you think of where the phrase pigeonhole actually came from.
Yeah, which I've always had a fascination with, like the words we use, you know.
Another picture.
A lot of them come from farming and seamanship.
What are baby pigeons called?
Squabs,
Is that why you said squabble?
yes.
Ah.
They're good.
Ah.
We used to sell them to the local Italians.
You have a nice way with words. You play with words very well.
And it moved comfortably.
First poem I ever wrote. Well, maybe the third.
Wow,
Oh,
you go.
Isn't
That looks like there's enough for everybody. Well, that's a surprise.
Columbo, isn't it?
I don't know.
I
They-
think Christopher Columbus is actually
Elbow.
Christopher Columbo. Christopher Columbus is actually
Oh,
I don't know. No, I'm not infectious. It's
No,
long,
no, no.
long
You know, Walter
past.
Pigeon, you know,
What
there's
were
that,
you?
but that's Christopher
I
Columbus.
mean, a couple of days ago, I could have
You
infected
know,
somebody,
this,
but now
our
it's
state capital is Pigeon, Ohio.
What were you battling?
Well, this poem is actually twins. It's
Which side are
like
we
a
reading?
coin. It has two sides. It has a
Okay.
front and a back. I want to start with the one with the picture on the front of it. They're essentially the same poem. But I took a leaf out of the book that Ann Cooper is reading now, The Ode Less Traveled, that it's fun to experiment with different modalities. So I wrote the same poem twice. But once I did in 3-verse, which is the one I'm going to start with, and then I wrote it in a rhythmic pattern, which I stole from Robert Frost. It's exactly the rhyme scheme of Robert Frost stopping in woods on a snowy evening.
Probably won't mind.
So I'll start with the free verse one with the picture on the front. I often go to auctions with my children. I've been doing it for 15 years, and I find them compelling and interesting and kind of fun, but also overwhelmingly sad. And I keep going to them. It's pretty and interesting. So here we go, the auction. An auction is a compelling drama. Being the highest bidder is exciting, and sometimes one can get a bargain as the gavel hits the auction block. Estate sales, however, have prurient appeal. These spectacles are both sad and obscene, as pornographic as a public execution, the private keepsakes of a life are laid bare. Voyeur bargain hunters claw like vultures at knickknacks and once treasures tchotchkes. They buzz like flies on a caucus, vying for the once dear detritus of a departed soul. They're like maggots feasting upon a corpse, or scavengers tearing flesh from a cadaver, like chum-crazed sharks swarming in frenzy, going once, going twice, gone.
Never go to a auction.
I like that.
Somebody outbid you, huh?
It's really kind of, I think it's obscene when you look at some little old lady or some little old man's treasures that are being thrown back and forth carelessly. So obviously these were treasured items that someone kept a whole lifetime.
That's
And
a
now-
great line you came up with. Dear detritus of a departed soul. That's a great line. And the chums, crazed sharks, swarming
More
in frenzy.
women,
Very
right.
vigorous images.
Well, I tried to build it into a feeding frenzy, which is what happens as
Nicely
an
done.
auction gets hot, and things begun to really click and people bid insanely over things they don't really want, but they're great bargains.
Felix, I would hyphenate once dear.
I wondered about that, and I'm glad you subtled it. I had it that way, and then I took it out.
Once dear.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
second line, the last line of the second stanza from the bottom.
The once dear detritus of us.
And commas around however in the second
Last week I
stanza.
read the poem about my mother, my parents' home as a soul.
Yeah.
And we elected not to do, quote, an estate sale for this very reason. You know, of people walking through my space
Yeah.
and picking at things.
It's
and
awful.
also making comments,
Yeah.
you know, like, gee, that's, you know, they didn't take good care of that, or, you know, that's a nice piece. You know, it's like, it really was. It's almost like being, it's a threat. It was really threatening. So we would rather give it away.
I'm very much with you. I was at an auction this last weekend with my daughter and my son bought a painting, which he liked primarily for the frame. It was a very ornate frame. It had a light on it. It was an oil painting, an original oil painting, and we bought it for a few bucks. And we were carrying it out, and a woman came up to him and said, "Before you go, I want you to know what you've got there." I said, "My 95-year-old grandmother painted that picture. And she loved it, and this is the scene." And she was virtually in tears. I wanted to give it back to her.
Yeah,
So my
she
God,
shouldn't.
thanks, why did you sell it? But,
Yeah.
anyway, it now hangs on my son's wall.
Did that
When you read
provenance?
it, you said
Take it.
sometimes one can get a bargain.
Where were we?
Right there, sometimes one.
Sometimes one gets a bargain. I think I didn't want to get one can. Sometimes one gets a bargain is fine. I wanted to shorten the line. I like to try to block the stanzas and make them rhythmic. Well, here's the second version. As I say, it's copied after Robert Frost's very peculiar sonnet form. If you notice, all the lines in each stanza rhyme, except the third line of each one. The third line of the first stanza becomes the rhyme scheme dominant in the second stanza. And then the third line of that second stanza becomes the dominant rhyme of the third stanza. And then in the fourth stanza, a la Robert Frost, they all rhyme, and you repeat the third and the fourth lines.
Wow.
There may be a term for that.
It's a sonnet form. But anyway, this is the auction from a different point of view with rhymes. An auction is a doleful drama with objects exposed in panorama. Once private keepsakes blatantly bare beloved treasures of someone's mama. Like peeping toms, strangers stare and tear into boxes with scant care. Covetous shoppers with greedy eyes spy on things often worse for wear. All can hear the auctioneer's cries, hyping items in the trade he plies. He touts things old as good as gold. Bidders hone in like flies to pies. This scene is distressing to behold. Crass commerce so cruel and cold. Going once, going twice, sold. Going once, going twice, sold.
Miles to go before I
sleep. Do you like it?
I don't like it. I think it's forced poem.
Well, let me ask your opinion. And I actually sent these to Joe Rutter just as a way of saying hello to him.
And then he had a
And Joe wrote back a 2-page critique, and he gave me his opinion of which one he liked the best.
I like the blank verse one.
You like the blank verse one?
There's a lot more vigor in the first one.
I wrote that one first.
Yeah.
On option 2,
Yeah?
last line of the first stanza, I would change it around to say, once private keepsakes blatantly bare, treasured beloved by someone's mama. I think the rhythm's a little better that way.
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
Say that again.
I can live with
Yeah,
that.
that's interesting.
Once private keepsakes blatantly bare, treasures beloved by someone's mama.
Yeah, I like that better too. Anyway, but to tell you what Joe said, first of all, to say hello.
Well, it gives now our
Yeah.
But Joe said he much prefers the free verse one.
Yeah.
That he thought the rhymed one had sort of a sense of forced rhyme.
Yeah, but it's, the first one is, I agree, I like that first one, but the second one, if you had done this one first, it wouldn't have worked, you know? I think by doing the free verse one and then the rhymed one, it works. But doing the rhymed one first, I would have thought, this is kind of bizarre, but it makes sense in the context of what you wrote here. That was my take on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, the maggots. The first one's stronger. Antiques Roadshow is supposedly the top viewed PBS show, and there's a little bit of that voyeurism in that show, Antiques Roadshow, that's on PBS. But it's
I'm not
actually
against the rhyming, but at times it's an art, and it's kind of simple to crank out rhymes. It's not always simple, but
Well, I'm just going to say,
to get them to flow nicely.
Yeah.
And I have seen poems following this form, which I like very much.
well, how about stopping by a wood on the snow?
We'll see if there's enough for your grandson.
That's the same theme.
Well, and it's done so skillfully, you scarcely notice the
Right.
rhymes.
Actually, there's
Yeah, give it to Joy.
That's the genius of a great poet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening. Joe sent his love and affection. This is
I'll give you one, because no, that's good.
We're sharing here.
Yeah.
there's one that had extra.
Yay, worked out. Good job. Do you know how many copies you made?
12.
You made 12?
It is about like that.
How did it make its way around?
And more. Okay, I hope I can get through this. Happy Feet. Steve Martin talked of Happy Feet attacks. To me, attached the label Dancing Fool. Line dancers need to cue the starting step. From there, the music throws one's feet aloft as in a trance, without the brain engaged. A clogger could be armless. Silver taps direct attention footward. Burton stomp, high horse, Lone Ranger slap back chicken steps. The belly dancer's arms are crucial. Core and arms should move in counter wavelets, like two hands on a piano, left be right. Ballet, dear mom, is now my watching art. Those private lessons that you drove me to have morphed into 3 different movement modes. So this is supposed to be iambic pentameter because I only got as far in the book as this first exercise. So that's
All right, then you got it.
I got a little ways to go.
You worked it.
But does it seem I thought maybe if I like ended a sentence like wavelets period like, so that it wasn't the end of every sentence was the end of the line, and then it wouldn't, if I had done that, it would have been too hippity-hoppity. So I tried to not do that, but
And it's easy to get caught in that trap.
yeah.
I think this way it kind of connects it better.
You mean having like ending a sentence and then starting the
Right.
next one?
I think it connects the whole better.
It's
Yeah.
called enjambment, if you want to know the term for it.
The what?
Which always confuses me. You know, they call it enjambment, but you think of them jamming things together,
Yeah.
but you're not.
It flows over.
Yeah.
It's jammed, it flows.
How do you spell that? Gem.
E-M-J-A-M-B-M-E-N-T, enjambment.
Oh,
Enjambment.
It simply means a line carried over,
Yeah.
a sentence carried over to a second line.
Oh, so a sentence that starts and then goes.
Rather than having an end stop.
Yeah.
Use technical terms.
They're all in the Old Less Traveled.
Yes.
Keep
Comment,
reading, you will encounter all those terms.
comment right here.
I was just noticing that your last one on ballet, you say morphing into 3 different movement modes. But if I count backwards, you have ballet, belly dancer, clogger, and line dancer. That's 4.
So I meant that, you know, all little girls at a certain time in the 50s took ballet lessons thinking, I'm going to be a ballerina. But no, I turned out to go to senior line
Ballet, line
dancing.
dancer, you
You
have
know,
3.
it morphed
Okay.
into 3 different
All right,
types
I
of
got
dancing.
you. All right.
Yeah, I caught that.
Okay. Yeah.
You're telling
That's what
me.
I meant. It was all those lessons and all that driving my mom did, and here I ended up.
But you enjoy it.
But that's okay. Then I was trying to
Yeah.
say it's okay.
Yeah, that's not wasted. That's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
celebrated.
yeah.
And I like this Drew Hoppity Skippity here. You're trying to, are you trying to sound like jiggery pokery?
It was late.
Candidate for the Supreme Court.
Pardon?
Has to do with the bunny hop.
Yeah, well, I like the term, it just.
It's also
it
a
does its
movement.
thing
It's a
there.
movement thing.
Yeah.
Different kind of dance.
It's Scalia.
Happy feet,
Yeah.
happy feet attack.
Yeah, I like
Right.
that.
That's Steve Martin's phrase.
Yeah.
There's also a movie or something, isn't there, about Happy Feet?
Yeah,
Was that the one about the penguins?
Yeah, the penguins.
yes.
Yeah.
Penguins.
Yeah. Words, phrases, and more. Words and phrases convey a meaning. But which one? Can one word can have many definitions, a ton. Have you ever thought about it? We use words all day long and through the night. One word has 250 meanings, another 264. Then there are words with 268, 288, 289, 334, 368, and the winner has 464. What are all these words for? Meditate upon this. How are words and phrases selected? What words or phrases should be utilized so our message isn't rejected? Don't we want, desire, and/or labor so our communication will be perfected? What rules are our words subjected, affected, directed, and/or connected?
Like that.
What is the motivation? Is it a contest so we will be respected and accepted? In the grand scheme of things, what is behind our word selection? How much are we motivated so there will not be any rejection? Is there such a thing? Is it possible to obtain perfection? If we truly knew the entire story, would we make the connection? How far will some go in order to obtain acceptance? No exception. An example from the list. The word with 464 uses. Set. How many phrases can you get? Did you think of all set, set aside, set forward, or set back? What are they set for? One is already, or you decide. Another goes forward when one is going back, while one is on the side. Words, phrases, and so much more. We need them for languages, written and/or spoken. We must learn their rules, which must not be broken. But some languages are signed, others have sounds and clicks. Maybe people can be transfixed. However, there is no quick fix. And then this is the list of the words, the top 10 that have the most usages. Set, run, go, take, stand, get, turn, put, fall, and strike.
Is that or is it not a footnote?
No, that's not a footnote. That's an informative statement.
I think your poem begins at the third stanza.
What do you mean?
And
Okay.
That is right there. That's probably, yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised cut isn't in the top 10. When you think of cut off and cut in and cut out and cut on and
yeah, yeah. What
it's not in the top 10.
you want them to think on this? All this other stuff is just sort of a flim-flam thing. It doesn't add to the essence of what you're trying to say, I think.
Yeah, a lot of students don't realize that they should throw their first page out.
Yeah.
It's often true. So
I revised this, edited it, and did lots of changes, but I'll think about that.
I don't know, I got a lot out of the first stanza. So,
Which means you'd have to rewrite the penultimate stanza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do want, because I make mention about the 10 top, and that would not be picked up.
Well,
mentioned
then
the
maybe
list.
they're rewriting
Could
it,
you
but
work this-
I would let the reader in at the beginning of the third stanza. If it were me, if I were not such an interfering old fool.
No, that's okay. I would like to see how, if I may ask, how that would be done. Not right now, but, if you'd be willing, maybe you can email me a take.
The language, we can get into such a tangle with our language. Because I edit papers for these international students, I get a lot of that where.
Well, yeah, definitely.
And the prepositions and the whole thing of not ending a sentence with a preposition really doesn't work if it's a prepositional phrase.
Right.
Like, I can
What
never
are you
think of an
talking
example
about?
when I'm talking. Yeah, and that
You're ending
sort of
with a
thing.
preposition.
Patricia, this Patricia speaks a language that has no prepositions.
Mhm.
Chinese has no preposition.
Yeah,
I don't
and
speak the ones.
many of the students I work with are
Not like you.
Asian students, and they have a terrible time with
Yes.
those prepositions.
Yeah.
And
We
and also
rely on them all the time.
articles.
the articles, the
Yes.
and a and an
Yep.
and the. The is a definite article, so that's and a and an indefinite. You can get that straight. But when you use it and when you don't, and you get British English and American English, we'd say my brother is in the hospital, and the British say my brother is in hospital.
Right.
But then we say screwy things like, my son is in college, or my son is at the university.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They say that, the English say that they live in a certain street and we live on a certain street.
Yeah.
So,
And so it's really interesting the way we sort of squish it all around. And you know the classic quote from Winston Churchill that probably he didn't really say, that ending a sentence with a preposition is something upwards which I will not put.
Yeah, right.
And then there's the story of the little kid who parents are going to read a bedtime story. And he said, "Why did you bring the book? I didn't want to be read to out of up for."
Like the Jamaicans, time me loose my boat.
What did you say?
What?
The Jamaicans have a saying, tie me loose my boat.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Time you didn't read.
Larry has very pretty papers.
He gets surprised.
Well,
for
you
the
take
best
one,
they
you
say.
give the rest to us.
Toe tag.
It's what?
As good as toe tag.
Oh,
Which had
okay.
my award for best.
Oh, aren't you sweet? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Six are going this way. You can tell there's more than one page.
Ah,
They're very pretty. Look at this.
Yeah.
Isn't that gorgeous?
You use them for a placement.
So I got 2 things like that.
So are there only two or are there more?
There's two.
Well, having them color
Nan
coded
doesn't,
this way,
Nan doesn't do that.
well,
She has
one
to
of
hold
each.
on to the camera.
Two
Yes,
Thank
each
There's-
one gets,
They're both
you get balloons and you get scrolls, each of them.
We're gonna start with the blue.
I wanna
With the
know-
blue on
Balloons
top.
first.
I want to know
Okay.
where you can
Are there
are
more
they
of them?
color coded or what?
No.
sort of.
You can. I mean,
If you're being pious, you can miss them.
it's in the dictionary both ways. It really is.
But I think that's what you mean rather than crevice.
And precipices, isn't that what you mean on
Yeah,
the?
it's not spelled properly, is it?
It's
Yeah,
shortened to fit the space.
You've made it fit.
Okay, give me the correct spelling. You know, I thought about that and I didn't have time to deal with it.
Yeah.
Huh? No.
Precipices.
What's the correct
The
spelling?
last word is misspelled.
Yeah, that's what he's
Yeah.
saying. Tell him how to spell it.
P-I-C, I
he's asking.
think it is.
What?
P-R-E-C-I-P-I-C-E-S.
So you just
Oh,
need to
okay.
add an I-C.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh,
You want it-
yeah.
You should keep the way it is. I think he'll be really delighted to get it. I mean, how many doctors get recognized that way?
In the first line, I would take out the words "a gift." The Sacagawea dollar is in honor of,
Oh, yes.
you know, 'cause it